Hi, I'm Christopher Dirks, and this is my case study, Module 14 for EDL 856. So the summary of the case study. As the educational leader for the school, I look for support from the parents of the students through the organization affiliated with the National PTA. Apparently, the parents were not happy with their limitations being part of the PTA and decided to create their own group with hopes to be more involved. This was surprising as there had not been much communication of concerns prior to the formation of the new group. The president has informed me that they have formed subcommittees to improve discipline, teacher performance, curriculum development, and total school performance. The committee plans to use observations and data to issue policy statements to collaborate with the administration. At the end of the day, I believe this will disrupt regular school practices. I want to keep their relationship and meet their concerns, and therein lies the problem. Question 1. In what types of situations can family members and stakeholders be helpful? I think perception data is important to keeping connections with families and the community strong. Using their opinions to fuel some changes makes them feel involved and gives them a sense of ownership. Legal and ethical issues. Through this process, no one has been physically harmed, but I fear that there could be harm to the students' school environment if precautions are not taken. The proposal by the newly formed group would disrupt the norms of our school and create rifts in the learning environment. Also, while no real contract is in place, the National PTA provides some support to both parents and schools that they work with. With the group leaving the association, there was a breach in trust and support. This creates a break in the relationship. It feels like there are more moral and ethical issues with this situation than any legal ones. The group did not communicate their concerns with me and made decisions on their own. Question 2. What guidance do various laws, policies, and regulations provide for determining when families or guardians have input in educational decisions? The National PTA has some regulations in place to keep the support of the families positive, yet it remains the principal's choice in the end, because it is about student development first. What exactly happened? So the parents were not happy with their lack of involvement in decision making at the school, so they formed an independent, proactive group in hopes to have more of a say in the decision making. This felt a little bit out of left field, and it seems like it was more about being angry and not really being reasonable with their communication. Question 4. How can school leaders involve families in decision making about their children's education? I believe there's a good system in place with the involvement of the PTA. They played a critical role in the decision making, but in the end, it remains my decision as I am the educational leader. The facts. So the people involved, there are many lives involved in this decision made by the parents. Obviously, the parents themselves play a big role, but it affects the students' learning, the administrator's ability to make confident decisions, and the teacher's ability to support the learning process. With that, there are norms and practices by all parties. The parents play a pivotal role in decisions made, even though they don't make the decisions. So I actually factor in a lot of what they suggest and what they see fit, um, even though they're not making the decisions. The place, we are in a rural location that is centered around the school district. The county is fairly spread out, and therefore it can be difficult to get to meetings. Perhaps this was a barrier that can be addressed to create a stronger relationship with community members. The students in our area are 45% Hispanic. Programs, the parent group is focused around the high school level decisions made that impact their impact on student learning. The school is nearly bilingual in Title I as we operate as a public school. Question 3. What strategies are effective for communicating student success to families and community members? In our area, which is spread out, 45% Hispanic, as we just said, and serves one public high school. The most effective modes of communicating student success have been advertising at grocery stores, in the newspapers, and on the radio. At the grocery stores, there's been big signs that are hung up every sports season, or if there's any academic successes um, in our area. In the newspaper, monthly, there's Students of the Month, and on the radio, students after sporting events or any other events they might be in have an opportunity to speak on the radio. What strategies would a school leader use to communicate with parents in a community when English is not the primary language or where many languages are spoken? So in our area, again, 45% Hispanic, the mail works the best. Some Hispanic families don't have email. We also send out all of our messages in both English and Spanish. The information prioritized. So what the newly formed group is trying to do could be damaging to the students and their learning environment. While the involved parents have a vested interest in their child's success and the outcome of their educational experience, they may be interfering with that very process. I don't think the students have had the opportunity to speak on the proposal, but I'm not sure that that would be valid as they are minors for the most part. I think one way to begin to fix the problem may be meeting between me, the president, and some of the founding members of the group. The purpose of that meeting would be to mend any burned bridges and find a way to keep the community invested in the school district while still meeting their needs. Question 6, what criteria should be considered in developing programs, committees, and activities that include the community? I think at the front of this question needs to be the students. They should be the focus really of anything that happens with the school district, and it should all be geared towards a continuous improvement process. With that, I think the reason they are interested in helping is important, along with their relationship with the school district and their current situation in the community. Options and consequences. Option 1 would be do nothing. It is an option to just let this group kind of take over and let them, speak on what they want to speak on. A consequence might be the disruption, as discussed previously, that it would cause in the learning process. Number 2 would be put my foot down, explain to the group that this is not acceptable and it's not going to take place. The downside of that would be losing the support of those community members. So we have to find a way that both parties can benefit. Option 3 would be to sit down in an air-conditioned room, have a meeting, air out the laundry. Sometimes when there's a major disruption in everyday expectations we have, it takes a calm meeting to discuss the issue. It would look like it would likely be me meeting with the president and the founding members to find a way maybe where things went wrong, why they're feeling like they're not involved enough, and if there's a way that I can mend that bridge. Question 7, how can the community be helpful in identifying and supplying resources for the school and school programs? So in our area, a lot of the community members help to find resources for families in need, and they also provide field experiences for students that are looking for some more hands-on learning. Question 8, how can school leaders use community resources to support learning? And that's a great way to do it. School leaders can meet with community members and businesses and see if there's any way that they can collaborate to provide students with more opportunities for real-world learning. Evaluation of options. So option 1 was the do nothing option, just kind of let it happen. Pros of that would be there would be no dispute with the community. I would be giving up power, but putting the con would be I would be giving up my power and putting student learning at risk. Option 2, which was the put my foot down and say no, we're not doing this. The pros of that would be there'd be no more group and things can proceed with tradition. The cons would be losing community support and turning away future support. So option 3, which was meet with the president and the founding members. The pros of that would be there would be an opportunity to voice opinions in a safe, reasonable environment. The cons would be the group could still want more power, and then obviously there'd have to be another plan, another option. Question 9, are there any legal constraints on the role of the PTA in your state? I did a little bit of research on this, and in Oregon, there's a process for parent organizations to take up an issue to the school board. In our case study, that didn't take place. It was just kind of a new group was formed. They came to a meeting, and they just kind of started taking over with what seemed to be sort of demands. The best option. Option 3 here, in my opinion, would be the best option, to sit down in an air-conditioned room, meet with those community members, give them an opportunity to voice their concerns. I can voice my concerns. Hopefully we can find some balance between their involvement. The new group that they're forming seems to be a little bit too involved for my liking. The previous group seemed to be not involved enough for their liking. So the keys would be to maintain or to keep the focus on student learning and maintaining community support. So I think there would be some way to do that, but it might take sitting down and having a meeting. Implementation of my decision. So in choosing option 3, I would need to start by reaching out to the president and asking for the contact information of the founding members. Then I would invite them to a meeting and share a proposed agenda. The purpose of this meeting would be to diffuse the situation, to diffuse the issues before moving on to a new idea. If I could get to the root of why the group was feeling underutilized, perhaps I could create a new structure that uses their ideas and opinions more, along with giving them opportunities for feedback. That was a big part of my thought process here, was the feedback part. Maybe if I was giving these people opportunities to provide me feedback throughout this process, they would have felt more involved. Just saying, hey, we didn't like how this went, I think that gives them even more ownership. So the feedback piece was big. And as previously mentioned, the goal of the PTA and myself would be to promote student learning and maintain a strong connection with the community. Question 10, to what extent would certain school board policies restrict increased involvement by parents or a parent organization in your district? And I think it limits the ability of parent groups to do exactly what's described in this case study. It's a little bit chaotic. They're just kind of trying to come in and take over and be a voice, and I think there needs to be a process. I think there is a process in place for voicing concerns, and I don't think it's showing up to a meeting and cutting off the principal. With that would be my choice for resolving this issue. Thank you for listening.